everyone. Welcome to another edition of Wine by the Bay TV. I'm your host, George Bachara. Don't adjust your camera. Don't adjust your video. There is actually a person next to me. My buddy Alex is here from San Francisco. He's going to drop a little knowledge on us in just a moment or two. But I did want to take a moment and talk a little bit about our sponsor, the Goosehead Insurance Agency, the Bachara Agency, my agency. Show him a little picture of your daughter here.
Yeah.
He has a great daughter. She's about 2.5 years old. Her name is Luna.
This is a recent picture of Luna Rose Hawes and I. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah, she's awesome. The reason I bring her up is because I'm sure at this point you're starting to think about like college tuition and that kind of thing and how you're going to save up for the $175,000
Welding school.
$175,000 welding school. That's fine. Whatever she does, I'm sure she'll be really good at it. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of people out there have like 529 plans, which are qualified plans. But they don't realize that if your kid is either too smart to have to pay and you get a full scholarship, or maybe she wants to do something else. I know her mom's a performer. Maybe she winds up being in performing arts, skips school and becomes a success like at 16 years old. Who knows? Okay, 18.
God.
18 years old.
Don't tell me that's going to happen.
I am not telling you anything. But I'm saying it could happen. You never know. So if you have a 529 plan set up and all of your stuff is locked in there, if you don't use it on school, you get taxed and you get a 10% nice little penalty for your trouble.
Great.
So that's why it's better to contact me and let me structure a whole life insurance policy that gives you the flexibility to use the money for whatever you want. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but in the description box below, you're going to find a link to my website. Go ahead and follow that. We'll set up a consultation. It's totally free. And we can get you set up that way. You have the power to do what you need to do when you need to do it. Okay, so that's enough of that. Alex, I've known Alex for what, 10 years?
Right about.
We worked together at Morton's for a very long time. I even lived in his house for a little while, which is amazing that he didn't kill me.
It's a shame.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I know it probably still smells of me in there somewhere.
He bought all our groceries for us, so that worked all right.
I tried to. Anyway, so tell the audience out there a little bit about what you've been doing the last couple of months. I know you got your quartermaster sommeliers. So tell them a little bit about that and then a little bit about yourself too.
Yep. Well, like a lot of people during COVID, kind of took the time to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. I was fortunate enough to work through most of it. I worked for Fiorella. It's an Italian restaurant in San Francisco. They have a couple locations right now. I work as a manager at the Sunset location. It's a great spot. They have a really well put together Italian wine list, and I was fortunate enough to work at a couple other places before that kind of started really pushing me forward as far as educating myself in the wine world. Through San Francisco Wine School, I got a scholarship with them. I took a Somm Essentials class that prepped me for the Quartermaster Sommeliers. I passed Introduction and Certified Sommelier last August. And I also simultaneously took Italian Wine Scholar through Wine Scholar Guild and passed in December with highest honors. So got some credentials, feels good. I don't know everything about Italian wine, but I know more about Italian wine. I don't know everything about tasting wine, but I have an idea about it, and I have been tested on it, and I was fortunate enough to pass. I'm going to talk about some of the wines that we have here today. Trying to talk about it as from like a tutor aspect, a little bit educational, why certain things happen when you're tasting a wine, what certain language on the bottles might mean. That's kind of the gist of it.
Okay, so before we get into the descriptions and all that, I did want to ask you one question. Where do you fall, now that you've taken the Somms and all that stuff, where do you fall on glass shape? How essential is having the right shape of glass to the wine experience? And
sure.
I know it changes the flavor a little bit, but how important do you think it is?
As far as tasting the wine objectively, I think the most important thing is having like uniform glassware, and really like an AP glass, which is not too far off from what we have in front of us here. That's what I was tested with. So that's really all I would say. The stem is a good thing to have because then you're not warming the wine with your hands. People talk about the thickness or the thinness of the rim. and typically people say, oh, you know, the thinner the rim, the better. The only reason that is it's just a smoother transition of the wine into your mouth. So you're not thinking about, oh, this rim is thick. Like, that's really all that it is. The glasses are going to get more expensive the thinner the rims get. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
And more breakable as the stems get thinner as
So,
well.
I mean, yeah, I mean, a Burgundy glass is there for a reason because it's capturing the bouquet of an aromatic wine. And a Bordeaux glass is a little more angular, and that's to help the wine breathe a little bit more. I mean, but overall, when you're tasting and assessing, all I know is that, like, the Quartermaster Sommeliers uses just AP glasses. So if you've got stemware, like, and there's enough in it to swirl, and you should be good to go.
All right, great. So that's good news.
Okay.
It's good to know that we're using the proper.
I didn't know that you had stemware.
Well, that's true. Usually I drink out of here, and I just keep the stemware for the show. I really do just drink wine out of here, like I did.
I don't even think mason jars are popular anymore. That was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Well,
but,
you know, that's fine. Okay. Well, I'll have a little bit of water and cry in my mason jar here while you describe the first wine we're going to taste.
George is really excited about this white wine, I can tell you. Okay, so first white wine we're tasting. I'm going to hold the bottle up for you guys here. So the name of the producer is Donnachiara. The fantasy name, or the label for this particular wine is Resilienza. That's just the describing for the winemaker this particular wine that they make probably every year. So it's giving you an idea, if you were to buy this year in and year out, that there's probably some consistency in how they're making this wine. For a California reference, if you've heard of Stag's Leap Wine Cellars, it would be like Artemis, all right? That they normally make that wine in a very specific style every year. It may not taste the same every year, but it's kind of giving you an idea, oh, okay, this is what they're bringing to the table with this particular wine. The varietal, or the grape in this wine, is Falanghina. And this wine is from Italy. You probably would guess that we might be doing some Italian wines after I talked about the education that I've had. George was nice enough to throw me a little bit of a softball and do some Italian wines with me. If I come back on, we'll do some different stuff too. So anyways, the name of the grape is Falanghina. It's indigenous to Italy, and more importantly, indigenous to Campania, which is in southern Italy, on the west coast, on the Adriatic Sea, south of Tuscany, south of Lazio.
Is the West Coast versus East Coast in terms of temperature that much of a difference?
No, it has more to do with, so the Apennine Mountains run directly through the center. It's kind of the backbone of Italy. Mm-hmm. When you start to get into altitude, that's really, when you're talking central and southern Italy anyway, that's going to be more to do with temperature than east or west coast.
Okay, fair enough.
Obviously, latitude's going to play.
Yeah,
like the further south you get, the warmer it's going to get, getting closer to the equator in the northern hemisphere.
Absolutely.
So Falanghina is an interesting varietal because there's actually two Falanghina varietals. One is Falanghina Flagrant, which is kind of considered the higher end, a little more quality. And then there's Falanghina Beneventana. And that's what we're drinking today. Like a lot of Italian wine, it can get very confusing with varietals. And surprisingly, like, they don't like rename these things. Like, what happens is they have two grapes, or they have one grape, and they're like, wow, you know, this grape does great here. It's indigenous, it's Falanghina. And then genetic testing came out, and they test all these grapes, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, these aren't the same grapes.
Yeah.
But generally, why do they think that they're the same grapes? Well, they probably have a lot of similar characteristics.
But isn't that true in France as well? Like, they're finding all these different sub-varietals that they didn't know about before testing? And
absolutely. So sometimes they kind of go in the biotype category. I'm not going to get too technical.
Yeah, don't worry about that kind of thing right now.
Yeah, but anyways, there's two Falanghinas. They're both considered good varietals. They're both indigenous to Campania. This is Beneventana. And I don't have a whole lot else to say about that. So thanks for listening. Yes.
So what year is this? And let's give them the alcohol by value. By
2019. It says 13.5% on the bottle. Be aware, especially with imported wines, the lower the alcohol percentage on the wine, the less money it's going to cost for them to ship it here. So a lot of the time they fib. They love to fib.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
So you're telling me you can't trust the alcohol by volume sometimes,
I'm saying that
depending on the producer.
it's generally within 1%.
Okay, well that's
Which
not ridiculous.
13.5 is considered medium alcohol. 14.5 is considered high alcohol.
High alcohol, yeah, on a white.
So, so be careful just looking at that. You know, if it's from Napa, then there's no real reason, I don't think, for them to fib about it.
Unless they're trying not to scare you, which is possible.
Anyways, all right.
Well, let's taste it. What do you think?
I think we should.
What did you pay for this wine, and where would you get it from?
Okay, let's see. I got that written down right here. So, this was from Total Wine in South City. I paid. Oh my gosh!
That's for your glass.
Thank you. I paid 17. It was $18 for it. They make it really easy to get about 25% off at a place like that. So I actually paid less for it, but the price listed was $18. James Suckling gave it 92 points. The reason why I picked this wine out is George has been doing a lot of Chardonnays, because in California people drink a lot of Chardonnay. At least I think that's why you've been doing
Pretty
a lot
much,
of
yeah.
Chardonnays. They're really accessible, but domestic wines, big name varietal like Chardonnay, you can often overpay. Falanghina isn't necessarily going to drink like a Chardonnay, but it oftentimes has some nice weight to it. And being a young wine, it should be really fresh and approachable. And at the price point that it's at, $18 or $17 when you can knock it down to maybe $13.50 or $14 with a coupon at a place like that, like this could be an everyday drinking wine for somebody. So I'm going to assess this wine a little bit differently. First, I'm just going to look at the wine. Say it's a medium intensity. It's yellow. I wouldn't call it gold. Just slightly watery rim, which indicates youth, which makes sense, being a 2019. And then I'm just going to take a quick look at tiering or legs. People love to talk about legs in a wine. All that legs in a wine is going to tell you is alcohol, how much alcohol it might have, or maybe if it has a little bit of residual sugar in it. So if you see big, thick, slow-moving tears, then you're thinking higher alcohol or maybe some residual sugar. If you're seeing lots of thin rivulets, or if the wine's just sheeting down the glass, then maybe lower alcohol and or no residual sugar.
Typically, it's more the alcohol or more the sugar.
Well, there aren't a lot of sweet wines out there in the market, so typically more the alcohol. But if you're tasting, some Pinot Grigio or some Riesling, that sometimes those wines have RS in them, so they can have that kind of a thing. The tiering looked medium on it, which would line up with what we read earlier, 13.5%.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Okay,
pretty much done looking at the wine. I'm going to smell it now. Very floral wine. First thing that comes to mind is like honeysuckle, orange blossom, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of orange blossom for sure.
It's very expressive on the nose.
Thank God. I've had a couple that were closed off in the last couple of ones. This is not, for sure.
It helps to be smelling it at the temperature that it's at too. If you ever find that you can't smell a wine that well and the wine's too cold, you can always cup the glass like this, and that'll help warm it up. Another trick that I learned with a wine that's not very expressive, put your hand on the top.
Does it trap
kind of trap the aromas?
Oh, interesting.
And then pop it.
That is something I did not know.
That's a fun little trick that I learned. And with a wine like this, it'll really pop in your face.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it really does.
So floral elements really there. I'm getting a mixture of fruit, actually. The first, tropical fruit, definitely like a pineapple thing going on here. There's stone fruit. I'm getting like a yellow peach. There's that ripe Meyer lemon kind of category going on with this.
I'm not getting the lemon at all. I'm getting all that tropical, but I'm not getting any lemon.
Big tropical though,
yeah,
right?
Totally. This
not,
could be a pina colada very easily.
Banana. I'm getting an underripe banana.
For sure.
The tropical element is first and foremost, then kind of a stone fruit, then a citrus fruit. I'm not picking up orchard or tree fruit a whole lot on this.
Is this nose typical for this varietal?
I would say that Falanghina is expressive. I would say that...
Is it tropical most of the time?
I would say I think stone fruit tends to be more the profile for it.
Okay.
But
And by stone fruit, we're talking about like peaches, that kind of thing. Not like an apple. Like
No,
more of
yeah.
a peach or a
yeah,
plum or
like
something
generally
that.
like tree fruit, orchard fruit would be like apples and pears. Stone fruit would be like nectarine, peach. So floral and fruits really showing it's of the condition of the fruit is like ripe, just ripe. It's fresh. Same with the floral element. It's fresh. It's not dry. If you're getting like a dried floral element, it might indicate some age on the wine. If you're getting like a dried fruit character, once again, it might indicate some age on the wine.
Yeah, this is definitely fresh. This is a
It's
younger wine.
super
for sure.
fresh, right? Not getting just a tiny bit of an herbaceous kind of character to it, but it's not like a driving force in the wine. My nose, honestly, like I know the wine's from Italy, so it'd be really easy for me to say, oh, it's got some oregano or some rosemary on it.
Yeah.
I just get a little bit, not a vegetal, but a little bit of an herbaceous character to it. But honestly, I'm not good enough to really pick out what that is.
Well, to be honest with you, most of our viewers probably wouldn't catch those because that would be very, very subtle.
Right.
I mean, I'm not getting a lot of that either. I'm getting none of it, and my palate is nowhere near as educated as yours. So you think we should give this thing a taste and see what's going on?
Just one other thing to note on the nose. I'm not picking up any oak character. I'm not getting vanilla. I'm not getting baking spices. George does a really good job at assessing oak and all of the stuff. And a lot of the times, the white wines, the Chardonnays, they're going to have oak. And that's because Chardonnay is a pretty neutral grape and it needs some flavor.
It needs some flavoring, yeah.
And this, I'm not picking it up. It's possible that there is some new oak in this and maybe it shows up on the palate. But I'm not getting it now. So
well, let's find out. I got a little alcohol attack kind of mid-palate on the initial flavor. And then it kind of goes away. It's not too much, but it gives a little backbone. It's not like a flabby tropical nightmare.
I would say, like, all the fruit, I'm like confirming it. Like everything that I picked up on my nose, it's showing up on my palate. The floral element is even like, I can even taste the floral element in my mouth, which sometimes doesn't always like line up kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting some floral stuff going on in there.
So I'm just assessing structure now. And I'm going to talk about, so structure, all that means is I'm talking about acidity, alcohol, if the wine is dry or sweet, tannin, which white wine does not normally have, sometimes it does, and body. This has elevated acidity. My mouth is still watering. I wouldn't quite call it high, but like if your mouth waters a lot, like think about when you bite into any kind of fruit, but if you think about citrus, like that's kind of like the first thing that'll pop into someone's head. If your mouth is watering a lot, the wine has acid. Acid's good for wine because it makes it refreshing. If you don't have enough acid, you talked about it plenty of times. The wine's going to be flabby.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's really not going to pair well with food, which is one of the biggest reasons to drink wine.
Yeah, I would think this would be helped by some food. It's a little bit too acidic just to drink at our 55 degrees, whatever the heck we're at right now.
And this might even be warmer than, this
probably
might be at like
60.
60 degrees.
Yeah, it's a little warmer than it probably should
we were
be.
talking before the show, like, you can't dress up white wine when it's served at room temperature. Its flaws are going to show. And this is quite pleasant to drink. For me, right now, without anything in front of me, I could drink a glass of this and enjoy it, which I think says a lot because I've tasted a lot of warm white wines before because it's kind of the way you have to taste white wine when you're doing it objectively, and it's a lot more fun to spit them than to swallow them.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
And then I'm just going to do one more and just kind of get a little bit more assessment on the structure. This wine actually has a little bit of phenolics to it. I get a tiny bit. My gums are sticking just a little bit to my teeth.
Me too.
And that's somewhat common for Italian white wines. honestly don't know how common it is for Falanghina, but it's not like, and it's not overly bitter, which is kind of, when you think about tannin, astringency is kind of what you would think about. But it's actually kind of a nice element to it. It just, another texture in your mouth, another complexity in the wine.
And I'll say the acidity went down a little bit on this third tasting. It's kind of like,
well, yeah,
balancing out
and your
a
mouth
bit
is
as
getting
you
used to it
exactly.
too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And alcohol,
I'm not feeling too much alcohol. How about you?
it tastes like it's medium. Like, so really feeling alcohol. If you feel that, like, think about, you take a shot of whiskey or a shot of tequila, the burn is here, right? If you take a shot of Fernet or Amaro, it's going to be a little bit higher, assuming that it's a little bit lower in proof than like whiskey. Or, you know, with wine, usually it's in this area. Like right now, the burn is like burn. It's not like burning but just that little bit of heat. It's kind of right here, which kind of tells me it's got medium alcohol, which would line up with the 13.5%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd say the wine does have some weight and it does have some finish. So I'd put the like complexity of the wine at like a medium plus. I'd put the body somewhere between medium and medium full body. And I'd say that I really like the wine.
I do too. And again, I'm not a big white guy. I know you've become more of a white guy over time because of all your training and all that kind of thing.
You can just make me leave right now.
I'm disappointed in you, to be quite honest with you. But I'm not surprised, frankly. I kind of thought you had it in you from like years ago. Anyway, but yeah, this is definitely drinkable in my opinion. I mean, I wouldn't have identified quite as the depth level that he went into. But I can tell you, I would drink this. I would definitely drink this with food, like a shrimp scampi would be really nice.
I mean, I think it's
this.
versatile. I think you could.
Yeah.
I think you could drink this with a charcuterie plate. I think you could.
Oh, totally. With a cheese. Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
It
Yeah,
cuts
absolutely.
right through the richness of the cheese and the meats. I think you could drink it with maybe not really intensely vinaigrette dressed salad, but most vinaigrette dressed salads to slightly creamy based dressings, and then pretty much anything seafood. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a good. I really like the wine.
Do you think the acid would be too much with like a goat cheese?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, I mean, really, when you're, a high acid white wine. I mean, like the classic pairing for goat cheese is Sincere, and that's like rocket acidity. So, yeah, no, I think it'd be awesome with pretty much any cheese except for maybe like nacho cheese. Don't do nacho cheese.
Yeah.
George wanted to make when you talk about nacho cheese. Too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay.
So, anyways, I don't know.
How would you score this?
The score thing. I'm gonna go like for the value, for being something different, for being something that you can that's accessible. I would give it 2 thumbs up. I like that one better than the points.
Fine. 2
thumbs up. I mean, I think, but I would say I think 92 points is a good score from James Suckling. Like that's. I mean, I would definitely. I probably will buy this wine again.
Yeah, sub $20. Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, why wouldn't you? Especially like if you're not a white wine person and you want to have something around for guests, you know, that actually have some class and civilization, you know, like you and unlike myself, the knuckle dragger. I mean, I would absolutely keep this around. And frankly, not being as versed in white wine from Italy as you are, I wouldn't have expected this to be from Italy. Most of the white wine I've drank from Italy has been more light and bright. Not Pinot Grigio, but you know, there's a lot of northern Italian white wines that are very easy, you know, like summertime wines.
Sure.
And this is not it. So this is really good. Thank you for bringing this.
Yeah, for sure. We can do it. Cheers.
Cheers.